Hello, how are you? So today video 64 of my 100 tips in 100 videos, and today I wanted to talk about profitable niche and choosing a specialization for your website or a niche audience. That is something that's comes back a lot, and so I'm going to give you some tips around that. And first of all, for those who don't know me, I'm Sabine. I'm a marketing consultant, and I work with professional women around the world, and I help them create an online business that allows them to live and work anywhere. So today I want to talk about profitable niche, and there are some professionals, some coaches that do say that they don't necessarily agree with choosing a very specific niche, and they have a different approach to choosing your market. And I tend to advise, and I did it for myself, choose a very, very specific niche, and to not just in terms of the audience, but on a niche on what I talk about and what I do. And the advice I'm going to give you apply to any kind of sector, any kind of skills that you have. And obviously, I have a marketing background, and I've worked in the corporate world at different companies, and building marketing teams and building campaigns for clients. So that was, for me, kind of the starting point of what I did online, my online business. But obviously, if you are a personal trainer, if you are a photographer, if you're an accountant, if you're a translator, obviously your specialty, your skills, your special skills will be the main focus and what you want to focus. But then after that, you will still want to choose a niche. So going back to the translator example, obviously you know already which language pair you're translating, either from Spanish into English or from French into English or French into German, whichever language pair that you already do. But then you don't, you can't be everything for everyone. So you can say, I translate any kind of document into English. No, you will really to show your expertise, you really need to choose one or two specific areas. So it could be medical translations, it could be literature, going for poetry and literature or novels rather than scientific documents. Or you can have a negative niche, saying you don't want to work in those areas, and to be clear and to really decide which area you don't want to work in. So maybe you might choose not to do medical translations, and so as you get more experience, your list is going to narrow. And the positive point of having a very, very specific niche is that you become the expert in your field. So whenever previous clients think of or need to recommend someone who does, for instance, medical translations, they go straight to you. They know that you'll be the right person, and they'll be able to recommend you to other people because they know exactly what you do. Whereas if you do a lot of different type of work, you'd be at the same level than all the other translators in your same language pair. Taking the example of a translation, but going back to the example of a health coach or a fitness coach, you really want as well to specialize. So it could be is in the losing weight, as a coach, as helping people losing weight, or a health coach or fitness coach for after an injury, or you really want to decide on a specific niche. And so not just the audience, but what you do as well. So the type of exercises or the type of meal plans that you want to work on, or you just want health coach for vegan, or you can choose all sorts of different areas. And usually the second question that comes after which niche do I choose The second recommendation that I give is start with any kind of niche. Choose an audience, choose something. And then as you go along, as after the first few weeks, the first few months, you will be able to understand, what works better within the market, the fields that you feel more confident, what you want to do, and how you be able, how you find your fit in that niche. And if the competition is hard, if there's already people, locally, nationally doing the same things that you're doing or not, and you won't know that just by doing a couple of research and saying, well, no, that's not going to work. No, you really need to be inside and to start really doing it. And after a while, you'll be able to understand if it's going to work or not. So there's no secret, there's no solution, there's no marketing system in place that can really give you success in whichever niche you choose. It's really going to be of trying and seeing what works and what doesn't work. The other point that I wanted to mention was about the markets that you're going to be choosing. You want to think about the not just the local market, but international market. So you may, for instance, going back to a question that I read a couple of weeks ago, a week ago or so. It was someone in a similar place that I am, a French girl living in Asia. I think she is in Bali, and she was wondering if she's been doing it in English, and she was wondering, should I do it in French and some of the answers and some of her limits that she was putting was saying there's no market for that. And honestly, there isn't. You don't need to have a huge market, and you don't need to have a huge audience to be successful online. Obviously, success is defined by, you make your own. You judge. You need to be able to judge yourself. What is a success and what kind of success you want. But if you're doing one-on-one coaching, you won't be able to take more than, let's say, 20 people a month anyway. So you don't want to have a pool of people of thousands and thousands of people, because you just want to have maybe 10, 15 people a year that you will want to work on one-on-one. And then otherwise you will go into doing more like group coaching, but those are the lower cost and you need more people. So everything that you do, it doesn't mean that there isn't a huge audience. It doesn't mean that you cannot be successful. So maybe you want to sell coaching or your services, translation services, to less people but to a higher value, because obviously if you've been able to position yourself as a go-to expert in that specific field, people will be looking for you, and they'll be willing to pay your prices, whichever the prices that you do set, and not the one of the market. Even though the market tend to go lower, if you have the expertise, you'll be able to charge higher than the kind of the average rates within your market, because you've placed yourself as an expert. So don't worry too much about putting, for instance, whichever specialty that you decide to do, and put it on your website. Just put it out there, put it on your social media, put it in really everywhere you can, the specialty, who you use, what you do, and the specialty that you do, and who do you serve. And those will be the way that people will be able to remember you and know that you're the go-to expert in that field. And they'll be able to recommend you, they'll be able to go back to your website because they remember that you've been able to give advice or tips or information that was valuable, and that is not just the kind of the average type of advice. It was really something that showed your expertise. So that's the two things that I wanted to mention about choosing a profitable niche. And as I mentioned, the size of the market doesn't, it's not the only criteria for you to be able to know if it's going to be profitable or not, because you may be able to have a really good community of maybe 100 people around you, you know, if you create a Facebook group, but still make money every month from those people because they are more committed than having a group of 2,000, 500. I'm in a couple of Facebook groups, and some of those, there's 6, 7, 20, hundreds of thousands of people. And obviously, the owner of that group is not able to sell to those people, and there's sometimes you know, having more doesn't mean that you're making more money. So having a very close community, a tribe online, some people that do refer to you when they're looking for information, they need advice, and so it's better to have a smaller list, a smaller not smaller list, as in the list of emails, but a smaller community, but that is attentive to whatever you post online and to the comments back on your post in the group, than a very, very large group, lots of spamming and lots of people that are actually not interested anymore, because it doesn't create a community around your subject. So that's the tip for today, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Bye bye.